Hey everyone, and welcome to another How to Draw Dragons with the Dragon Story video. So today I figured, since we're learning how to pose our dragons and well, we're starting to branch out and make different poses, I figured I would do a drawing of a dragon body, the full body, in a 3/4 pose, just to kind of help us learn how we can, pose our dragon in 3D space. And just like with everything, we always start with our shapes. That chest, that front area is probably the largest section. I tend to do big circles for that, and remember, we're keeping in mind that this is a 3D shape, so we can kind of pose it, which means like if it goes back in space, maybe the dragon body is like walking. I can't show it in 3D space, but if he's walking towards us, we can do a circle for the back hips area. And then we just kind of connect the two. I mean, really, if you're just getting started, you can use a cylinder to map this out. But I could just kind of go with the shapes, right? So we've got the front, chest, arms, legs, the back hips. Oh, and it's probably also wise to map out the head and the neck, because that is a big part of your dragon pose. So like the spine, now this is tricky because technically the spine would go back behind the camera. So sometimes you can use a center line in the front. So if this is the dragon's head, that's the center. Again, we're imagining the shape in 3D space. It's harder for me to draw this, but I mean, this is essentially like a tube. And then we'll kind of figure out how that attaches. And so, I mean, the more you draw shapes, the more it just becomes part of your drawing. And I mean, I've really learned how to translate those shapes into dragon shapes. So if you're watching me, I often default straight to some of these like shapes of the neck. But if you need to practice, seriously, just draw cylinders or a sequence of spheres. But see, then we have this dragon approaching us, and we can already see some of the challenges connecting this neck, because right now that looks kind of flat. And so we want to make sure that this looks like a 3D neck, if that makes sense. But then there's some techniques. So right now we just want to get the pose right. I almost think this needs to scoop around more like this. Just erase lines. And then you just follow that spine all the way back. Because this helps, I mean, granted, these lines are turning into the shoulder, and the actual spine is kind of running back behind. And it doesn't help. I mean, it does help. Sorry, it doesn't hurt to even map out some of the stuff, like you're making an x-ray. And so you see this spine, and then it goes behind, and so then that's like the back of the neck, and then it curls back around and connects. Because spines and neck all move in a fluid, like they don't do weird, bends like that. Because of the skeletal structure, it'll always be a soft bend. And so you want to make sure that's always smooth. And so sometimes you can just map out the skeleton, and that helps too. Because these lines are further outside of the neck. Okay, and so we kind of get this, kind of looks dinosaur-y, so let's put on some quick horns. I'll come back and fix those. Those aren't cool. But we've got the long neck, the front. This is kind of where it connects. And this is where it really helps to study anatomy. Because, so now we have this front chest area, which technically is a rib cage. You know, maybe I should do a video where I just draw a dragon skeleton or something. That'd be kind of cool. But anyway, so we have the rib cage and shoulder blade. And we kind of make sure that's the same. Then that's the upper arm. And then that's the lower arm. And if you're practicing your shapes, these are just cylinders. This is kind of a oval thing. So, and I like tracing that center line. And also we have that little bump that will then become the shoulder blade. The neck will then kind of connect down here to the chest. And if you think about, where'd that line come from? It doesn't matter, this is a rough sketch. See, sometimes my iPad does little things like that. But anyway, you can still think of human anatomy like there's the chest and then this is the big long neck. So you can look at those muscle structures to help you build this out. Okay, and so this dragon's like coming towards us. I think I need to adjust the hip so it's not so high. Obviously this dragon's like maybe up on a hill coming down. And so I just kind of block out this leg. We'll go with the typical, I don't know what to call this kind of leg. Mammal leg. Look, I just scribbled for the claws. And then, so there'd be like little hips there, and then the tail. Let's figure out our tail. But see, look, we drew this really big. So let me shrink him down because then we need room for the wings. I mean, this is still kind of a weird pose. I just started drawing like in 3D space. And the tail, yeah, a lot of times you can just draw a line, like a spine line, to just get a sense of what that tail can be. Because see how that line just feels so much more smooth and elegant than what I was doing before? And that's because it was all one kind of swooping line. You know, there was a lot of emotion and confidence with that line. So it helps create solid drawings. And so, let's see, we also have to map out our wings. And wireframing them. Let's see, do we want his wings open? So then what's tough is when you design this really nice body, the wings might end up covering half of this, but that's okay because you need to know where this body is going to sit in 3D space. You know, and I didn't think completely through how would I want these wings. But that's, I mean, this is where you kind of experiment. Right now I'm just kind of scribbling to get a sense of the energy. So yeah, like, okay, I kind of like the way that's looking. So let's imagine that his wings aren't completely open. So this is his forearm, right? Fingers, 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 and they're kind of making, they're going back in space. So if the elbow's right there, forearm, thumb, hand, elbow, then we just have to connect it down there. See, my iPad did that thing again. Then we can start mapping out the muscle structure. Now, this looks really sort of sloppy and messy, and that is perfectly okay. You know, we can figure some of this out. But I like drawing really loose and smooth, because that's how you capture, you know, the essence of the pose. Like, this is really scribbly. And if you're on like paper or doing traditional art, I would just scribble out like a whole bunch of these, and then I would come back to one I really liked and then would kind of redraw that. But with digital, I can create all these layers and whatnot. You know, because this, I might even pull this a little bit closer. You know, but since we mapped out our body, it's okay to erase or draw on top of that, because we already know the structure is pretty solid. You know, so maybe this dragon's getting ready to like take off, or just came in for a landing or something like that. And then, of course, we need the wing on the other side. You know, I try and think of it in 3D space, if it's coming back. But this time, so if his elbow's right there, that's kind of the same balance. Does that make sense? Like, if we're drawing, if this dragon exists in a cube, and obviously the cube can like have perspective to it. That's, I mean, that's what I'm using to measure. If that's the center of the cube, that wing's there, you know, the wing has to be on kind of an equal side. So that's just how we keep track of our proportions. So we can see more of that arm. And these are, you know, these are usually challenging poses with the wings. Let's give this dragon a cooler looking head. I'm going to give this one a short snout. But let's do something really fun with the horns or something. Swoopy horns. And maybe he just has like these really large, thick, chunky, rather than the long scales. You know, and maybe he has like a set of horns. That could be kind of fun. And I mean, you can see I'm sticking with that mammal style body, just for now, just to keep it simple. I mean, that's typically what we like the most. So this drawing is kind of messy. It's really messy, but I like doing that to, one, map out the 3D space, and to really get, you know, a good sense of the pose, like some of the energy, you know, like especially with the wing. So sometimes when my rough sketch is this messy, I'll just create another layer, and I'll still keep it loose. But I mean, you'll notice some of my other rough sketches are a lot tighter. But sometimes when it's this rough, like this, it's hard to see everything, and you want to double check all the proportions and all that good stuff. And so I'm just, gonna quickly go over this one. Yep. If this dragon has a smaller snake-like head, maybe we can be a little bit more designy with the horns. Oops, that's off. That's better. Okay. And so the whole point, and one of the things with the necks, well, and maybe we should draw out this. There's the hand structure. You know, there's the little thumb or wing claw. That way, if we draw that, we can just try and get the neck behind there. And sometimes I like drawing, like if you think of lines going down the neck, you know, like if this is the center, then he might have that scale pattern right in the middle. Then you can follow that around, and then maybe you add like another set of decorative scales or something like that. But that helps visualize where the neck can be. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, just like fingers. The upper arms kind of coming in here, reaching down, connecting. We're just going back over our rough sketch. There's the shoulder blade. And make sure, so we've got the shoulder on that side. And if that's the center, there's that chest muscle there, this chest muscle here. Oops. Forearm. We need to talk about hands and feet specifically. Going with more paws-like versus like bird-like. You know how birds or dinosaurs have the really long toes? I'm keeping these just kind of like a paw. Coming back there, catching that. The wing connects to that stomach area. Get the ankle. And again, I'm thinking in 3D space this whole time. And technically the other foot, we probably should have mapped out the other foot, but it would probably show up right there. Tracking the spine of the tail is super important. You know, and maybe this dragon has like some sort of design. Coming down the side, maybe some scales on the edge. Kind of make it look unique. Let's go in and see where that other hand, the thumb, the fingers. Imagining that going behind the dragon. See, now the horns are covering up that arm. So that could be a little tricky. Oh, let's put the thumb. So if I got that thumb bent that way, it just looks better if they can kind of match the pose. Okay, so went back, drew over that really rough sketch, but still keeping it pretty loose. Yeah, that thumb's still wacky. But this gives us a little bit of a cleaner version to look at. So it's still rough. It's kind of a little bit more refined than my typical rough sketch. But see, then I can like flip it and look at some things, step back, look at it. You know, this section looks like it's like a little forward. So obviously I cheat with my liquify brush. Just kind of push it back. Okay, let's look at that. Yeah. You know, and obviously there's some refinements. Let's see. Let's make sure the tail is crystal clear. And maybe I don't like the tail coming that close. I don't want the design, the composition to get, because then sometimes it draws really close attention. The viewer's like, is he about to step on his tail? That's why your design, every drawing you do needs to have good design and composition. Oh, that's probably another video I need to cover. It's just composition and design when you do your drawings. This head looks a little weird, but that's okay. See, you can tell that I didn't pick the eraser. That line needs to scoop out more. Because if that's the center line, you want a balanced shape. Okay, that's kind of a fun, cool looking dragon. We got a little bit different than some of the things we've done in the past. Let me flip it back this way. Let me flip it even upside down. I feel like I don't notice that much upside down. I feel like it's always the left and right where I notice it the most. You know, and I've got some room. I might just make him a little bit bigger. Okay, so now we have this dragon kind of in 3D space. He's not profile. We all love profiles. I don't know why, as artists, we just start there. So, but now, so we have a little bit more form and shape to this dragon. And it obviously offers some unique challenges with the wings, because then the wings kind of cover some things up. But this was a video about trying to master the structure. Because a lot of times you can scribble out like a composition. Like if you have a very specific thing in mind, then you can draw around that composition. Like if you have this really cool idea of this dragon coming up out of the clouds, you start there. But this lesson is just really focusing on trying to master the structure and anatomy of the dragon, and learning how to take your designs and move them around in 3D space. So, yeah. After this, I'll probably just go back and do an ink pass just to finish this drawing. But hopefully this video has helped you kind of see how to build your dragons in 3D space. So yeah, definitely check out my other videos. Please subscribe. Let me know if you have any thoughts or comments. If you do drawings on your own, I would love to see them. I would love to start featuring them. And so I need to figure out a way how to keep track of things like that. But anyway, I think this was a really successful drawing. So let's move on to the next step. Thank you for watching.